I'm Toby Brief, President of the Columbus Jewish Historical Society. Today is August 15th, 2014. We're at the Jewish Center on College Avenue. We're interviewing 4 men who grew up on the east side of Columbus in Berwick, who've known each other since they were kids.
She called us men, too, which is interesting.
You know, I had to giggle as I did that. So if you could each identify yourselves, just introduce yourselves, your age, when you moved to Berwick.
Okay, I'm Steve Oppenheimer, and I moved to Berwick from Eastmoor in between 6th and 7th grade, which would have been about 1968, 1969. And I did not attend Berwick Elementary, but I did attend Johnson Park with these fellows.
It's fine education, too.
Yeah.
I'm Ted Fireman. My family moved from Deschler Avenue to Berwick in, I think, 1960. So I went to Berwick School from first grade on, Johnson Park and Eastmoor after that.
I'm Doran Young, and I moved to Berwick in, I believe it was 1962, from Eastmoor. And I didn't go to Berwick Elementary. I went to Columbus Torah Academy, and then joined these, but I was friends with these guys, and then joined them at Johnson Park High School, junior high, in 9th grade.
I'm Gary Cohen. Currently live in San Rafael, California. Moved from South Kellner Road to Berwick. After you, Dora, or before?
I think before.
Okay. So I think we moved in 1960.
So while I didn't go to school with these guys until junior high school, Gary, Dorn, and I went to the Beth Jacob right next door from the time we were little kids.
So we probably were also in JCC camp together.
Right,
Or
absolutely.
did you guys go to preschool
Yes.
here
Yeah.
as well?
Yes.
Oh, and I went to
Preschool
preschool here too.
Sleep on the
And we
couch.
definitely knew each other
Yeah.
in camp
Yeah.
as well, whatever that camp was called.
Camp O'Ra, Camp Co-JC, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Dorn, so would you say your ethics came from Torah Academy or Johnson Park? Your ethical background?
Torah Academy.
Okay.
Well, there was a different set of ethics that I learned from Johnson Park.
So how did you all meet?
I did not go to preschool in this building, but I was going to camp here from the time I was 5 years old. So I'm guessing that's when I first.
I don't know when we made the connection at that point, where we were going to start our relationship.
Right.
I think we didn't develop until actually elementary school.
Yeah, and I think everybody was different. I mean, I met Gary just because we were neighbors, lived on the same street, and we definitely either Sunday school or the JCC
Absolutely.
or Beth Jacob, but one of those 3
Yeah,
places.
because going to shul meant you spent a lot of time at shul, but outside of shul.
Right.
Right. Well, Harley, who is not with us yet, he's en route, tells the story that I can't verify, but he claims that he walked me home from kindergarten on the first day because I was crying and couldn't find my way home from Deschler Elementary School. And
And that sense
like
of
to-
direction actually still to this day.
Right. He's still crying, and those were the days when you would let your kid walk home from school unattended when he was 6
Right.
years old.
right.
So
Yeah.
do you all remember your addresses in
Sure.
Berwick?
Oh, sure.
What were
Even
your addresses?
phone numbers, I think.
And phone numbers. What was your address?
1619 Roseview Drive.
Do you remember your phone number?
Sure, 237-7190.
Yeah. And you were 2190?
219.
It's amazing that we remember ridiculous shit. I lived at 1440 Cottingham Court. I think my number was 237-9904.
1370 Brookwood Place, 235-2190.
Gary?
1270 Brookwood Place, 235-2479.
I remember.
Remember Rubino's phone number?
Yeah.
Still today.
I remember Rob.
235-1700, right?
Yeah.
That number always stuck with me as well.
Unfortunately, we're sad enough to have, or it's unfortunate enough that we have deceased friends. I remember Rob Mendel's phone number on Berwick Boulevard, 235-9095, or Belmont 5-9095.
I think
And,
the center's number was 231-2731.
Still is, probably.
Still is.
Still is.
I remember calling that.
Who
And,
answered?
Tommy Horowitz.
What was Tommy's
Rose?
Mrs. Pressman?
Miss Pressman, yeah.
Somebody's got to know it.
What's that?
But his
Thomas.
address, wasn't he 1467?
Yeah.
And but what was his phone number?
I don't remember.
God, I can't
What was his
remember.
dog's name?
Sonny.
Sonny.
Whose dog?
Tommy's.
No.
Did you know that, Toby, or were you just asking that question?
No, I knew that.
Oh, yeah.
I lived catty corner and back.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Yeah, you had that tooth that stuck out at the bottom.
His dog?
Oh, yeah, Sonny.
Was a, yeah, pug?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that we all played like in the Little League.
Oh, that's
Right,
right.
for
too.
everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Every sport,
Yeah.
except for football at that age.
Was that through the Jewish Center?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Jewish Center was the center of our life, a lot of it.
Right. And we could walk there, ride our bikes.
You guys were
We
a
did
couple
everything.
blocks.
Right.
Yeah.
So we
Did you ride your
did
bike?
live there.
Oh, I mean, we walked here till we were allowed to ride our bikes here.
Right.
I mean, I don't think a
And-
day went by that we weren't
And
here.
they had a lot of, activities and things to do with kids, and those were days you could just go by yourself. Although, do you remember Father and Son Night? at
Yeah,
the
it's
health
home
club?
Saturday night.
Yeah.
That was always a treat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
What
we-
was Father and Son Night?
The
That was
men's
when
health
they would
club.
let us in the health club with our fathers. Even though they didn't pay any attention to us, but we would go with them and then we would do our thing.
And the funny thing is, it was really a big deal. The place was a dump. I mean, that health club compared to the health clubs you would go to today, it was a dump. And guys, you remember the old guys smoking cigars in the health club, in the weight room, smoking those big
I
cigars.
can believe it.
Sunday morning, they'd put out a big spread, a big schmear and food.
Right.
And they
Right.
had Jimmy, the
Jimmy.
custodian,
Jimmy Hayes.
we were very close with.
I mean, the staff at the center, they were like legendary
Right.
in our lives. Miss Pressman, Jimmy,
Who was-
Carl and Ethel in the bowling alley.
Spent a lot of time in the bowling alley, they had great vending machines.
Well, some of those people kind of kept us in line a little bit, you
Yeah.
know? I mean, I don't know where they were when we were climbing around the roof of the center and some of that stuff, but Mrs. Pressman kept an eye on us a
Yeah.
little bit.
We did look up to them.
So what were your best memories of being at the Jewish Center? Or worse?
Just being here.
Well,
So much, I mean, actually the summer at the pool was
So,
always,
summer at the pool,
It's just-
Camp was big,
Camp
Hoover
was-
particularly.
Yeah, that was a good time. The leagues were a lot of fun. Later on, Heart of Ohio was a lot of fun.
I don't think anything compares for
Bowling.
me to Heart of Ohio's room in the basement on Tuesday nights.
That was
Right.
hard to beat.
Before there was Saturday Night Live, there was Tuesday Night Live.
Right.
That was
I
hard
mean,
to
we
beat.
had like 100% attendance at
Right.
every meeting because you didn't want to miss anything.
That's right.
So tell me a little more about that.
It was just terrific chemistry of people that we had, people that were really funny, people that were really bright, as a group.
Different age groups.
Yeah, and it was cool. We were
Athletes.
finally mixing with
Right.
different age
That was
groups
a big
and
deal, yeah.
upperclassmen, which was a big deal. And oh gosh,
I mean, we were actually trying to do a few things. We were supervised. Buzzy Canner was our.
We did, I think we did, I mean, we were there
Sold a lot-
mostly,
We sold a lot of salamis and some great donuts.
I mean, we were there mostly to have fun, but we did social action projects, we did some community service. Buzzy used to have a deal with us that if we would show up to help make a minion at Heritage House, he'd take us out for breakfast afterwards. You probably couldn't do that because you were going to shul with your family, but I remember a lot of Saturdays doing that. And then eating trafe afterwards.
And I think the real kernel of that was like you could have fun and do good things.
Yeah.
Because we did both, and for our age, I think to a big degree, we went around all of Berwick telling going, knocking doors, cold calling, selling kosher salamis.
I kissed my first girl at the Jewish Center, now I think about it.
And who would that be?
Jody Stan. And I think every now and then I see her, very rarely.
Now, you said your first Jewish girl. Was this your first
Well,
kiss?
I'm
or-
pretty young, I think, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I still remember the bush, but it was the old Jewish Center, but, so that was special.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was not in Heart of Ohio, so I can't elaborate on that part of the ACAs.
I think you were and you don't remember.
But you did all the
I came
camp?
in every once in a while.
Yeah.
You went to the camp and, right?
Yeah, no, everything except
Right.
Heart.
Gary was a tough guy too. I remember one fight you got into that
Never
I was
lost
very
a fight.
proud. I was very proud.
That was about 70
Gary was the
pounds.
only guy that was like brave, and beat up a kid that was bigger than him. And
But before we got into Heart of Ohio, we'd heard legend of Heart of Ohio before we were in it. And when we were in it, we felt like this was the Heart of Ohio at the center, that we were,
couldn't believe they let us in.
Yeah, and this was really the heart of Ohio of having fun, that we'd go to AZA conventions and just thought what was happening in,
All over the Midwest.
yeah.
Well, it really, I think for most of us, it was equal to the high school. It really was the high school
And we
experience.
got to play sports, compete against the other chapters, and that was fun. Basketball
Generally killed them.
and football.
Generally beat 'em
And
pretty bad.
I think a lot of credit has to be given to Buzzy Canner, because he was the right temperament, the right foil to this particular group. To
Right,
give us,
he was able to, I don't know how he was able to deal with us.
Well, I mean, to this day, you talk to Buzz, and he just doesn't know how these guys turned out as well as they did.
He would have
He
lost the
really-
bet.
He thought these guys would be in jail, absolutely. And that's the truth. It was
Well, he used to also say that this group he could, on a Tuesday night, he could bring a phone book and tell us to read it, and we'd make a good time out of it. And
the dynamic was just ridiculous.
yeah, let us get away with a lot, but he also somehow kept us out of jail.
We had some legendary.
Ultimate turtle.
actually,
trips.
one time Buzzy thought he'd do a teaching lesson, because we were getting to the edge. So he was a practicing attorney. He made arrangements to take us to court and watch a civil proceeding. And he, kind of gave us the talk, got us prepared for it. We go into the courtroom and we're all sitting there, and there was a college student on trial for stealing a can of tuna that was 29 cents. And the judge says, well, how much was judge asked, how much was the can of tuna? The student says 29 cents. And Randy Baum bursts out with the current A&P commercial saying, we owe how A&P prices have changed. In court. So we were asked to leave the courtroom. And Buzzy had a good talking to us after that.
Right.
Dory, you want to
We didn't go to court again.
You want to elaborate it on the campouts?
Well,
There's Harley calling.
the campouts were.
Hey, Harley.
I mean, what a wonderful opportunity for us just
How
to get
far are
away
you?
for a couple of days, And Buzzy tried to supervise us,
I'm
but
sorry,
we
you're
had a
right.
good time. We were, we gambled a little bit, we
Okay.
smoked cigars.
Well, come on over.
We did a bunch of stuff, and it was a good time.
Yeah.
Buzzy
Definitely
knew
come
when
on
to
over.
be there and when not to be there, and
Okay,
it all
see you
worked
soon.
out.
Where did you go camping?
Bye-bye.
That's a good question, Ted.
You
Ted's
should-
father would supervise as well.
Well-
But the older guys, I remember one trip where we were.
State
I think we were
park.
trying to go to sleep. We were in our sleeping bags, and I think it was Joel Slave and Mark Peterman. I don't know if you guys remember this, but they
Yeah,
snuck up on us.
unforgettable.
And I think they had blocks of fireworks, and they lit the blocks of fireworks, and all, we're just thinking, we're waking up in the middle of a war, and so I'll never forget that. And,
Well, I do remember one of the overnights that my dad came with Buzzy, and they borrowed somebody's RV, like a 24-foot or 30-foot RV, and we never saw them the whole weekend. I don't know what they were doing, but they weren't worried about what we were doing, which was a good thing.
So it was a good thing. Nobody ever got hurt, I don't think.
Did anybody?
Randy Baum.
Oh, Randy Baum, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That is not.
That was on a camping trip, that was.
No, that was
Football
that was a
games.
camping trip, but it had nothing to do with Heart of Ohio, did it?
Oh, really?
Maybe it
We
did.
were just doing
It
that
did.
on
Oh,
our.
maybe it did.
You know,
It started early, I guess.
Up at Hoover.
Mhm.
at one point it became part of our shtick that somebody had an 8mm camera and we would film these different activities. And so that was part of the entertainment then at the meetings on Tuesday night to see the news from the week before. And
Still trying to recover those films.
yeah, it put out an APB to everybody in the
Just
community.
think if we had cell phones back then.
Oh, yeah.
We
Oh
would,
my
we would have,
God.
everything would have been recorded and big trouble.
But we did have a film of a friend of ours, Randy Baum, who you probably know, Toby. You probably know Amy.
Amy.
Yeah. So we were playing baseball, and I think he screwed up his knee, and we filmed it.
And then the movie at the time was Billy Jack,
Oh, yeah.
which
right.
we all couldn't get enough of that movie. So when the ambulance showed up to take Randy away, somebody's filming him. We all put our fists up in the air like
In a
this.
As they drove him away to the hospital.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean, it was a crazy time period. We had a lot of fun.
And then
A lot of prank phone calls,
oh yeah,
those kinds of things, you know.
no caller ID.
We were very,
Open up
very
door.
early. Randy was a leader in this area, very early in the art of, you know, crank
Right.
phone calls, you know. I mean, it was pretty sophisticated level at that.
I think it was also.
What he called Bubba, the football player, the NFL
Bubba
player?
Smith.
Bubba Smith. And, you know, he would do a
Well,
lot of
Randy could-
interesting
he could
things.
take
He'd get
the-
people on the phone.
He could take the want ads, you know, people that wanted to be called, and turn it into an evening's entertainment.
Oh, my God.
Tell me about some of your other friends. Who else did you hang around with?
So Harley
These
Cohen.
Berwick people.
Bruce
Uh,
Burke was,
Bruce
Burke.
Burke.
and
Tom
Tom,
Hor-
Still here in
Tom
Torrance.
Horowitz.
and Tom Horowitz.
Ross
Rob
Mendel.
Mendel.
Barry
Barry Katz.
Barry Katz. right,
Randy Rosen.
Steve
Steve Callif.
Steve
Steve
Callif
Callif,
was
right.
part of the group.
Right.
Randy
And then
Brown.
1 year older than us, Jeff Adler and Sandy Meisler. They were always our friends.
Right.
And Neil Barkin.
Neil
Jeff.
Barkin,
Jeff Cohn.
Jeff
Brother
Cohen.
Jeff.
yeah.
You're
And
younger
really
than us.
all your brothers.
And
And
then
Richard was a little bit older.
And then a couple years older was your brother,
Mhm.
Yeah.
And-
Same year as Neil.
and it was Neil and
And he was
Manchaps.
Banchevsky, Kenny Rothschild,
Yeah.
trying to think who, Peterman was in that, Mark
Peterman,
Yeah,
Joel Slavin.
yeah.
And
I
then
mean, I think the beauty of the time was you lived in the area, you started elementary school, and you went all the way through high school together. So you really had a chance for the relationships to really materialize and grow and get deep. And I think it's tough today, a bit tough, or at
It's
least where I
different
live
today,
anyway.
right, it's different.
Well, let me throw out a question though. I mean, there's a lot of people that started preschool and went through high school with their friends. But this group, we're now talking 40 years after
Yeah.
high school, and we're still sitting
But I
here.
think
What do
we
you
have
think that's
so
on?
much in common. The era we grew up, the parents, you know, immigrant parents, you know, it was just kind of that starting out. I think we just had a lot in common, a lot of
And I think
values.
another piece of it was the community, was that our parents were involved. Our parents, you know, my mom went to lunch with me and Gary.
Right.
She wanted to see Gary and Gary's family. So, you know, you talk to your parents from school, you might not stay in touch with your friends, but they say, you know, it's Thanksgiving, and this one's gonna be in town, and that one's gonna be in town.
Yeah.
And we kept doing mini get-togethers. Where it got more challenging was to stay in touch like that was
It's
when
college.
college,
big
and then
time.
people moved away after
Right.
college, and there weren't cell phones, and you didn't text, and you didn't
Right,
email.
but we still got together, even in college, whenever we were in college.
Yeah.
And, you know, it seemed like somebody was always visiting somebody else. I mean, we'd go for periods of time, but
Yeah.
it was a little unusual that we would
Yep.
get together so
And
often.
the other
Then
thing,
after college, we started
but I don't
once
think
or
any-
twice a year getting
I don't think there's a group that spent more time together than we did as youngsters. I mean, it was 24/7.
Maybe we're the only ones that would be friends with our son,
Yeah, we could only tolerate
Maybe it was
ourselves,
adverse selection.
tolerate each other. But it was all the time. We were at each other's house
Yeah. Right.
just constantly.
And just the safe haven it was here at the center, that it was
Right.
here in Berwick, that like I say, you know, we didn't have cell phones, we knew everybody's number, you'd call and say, are they home? Are they there? You know, and if
Sometimes
they
we're able
were,
to hang out even if we
Safe
a lot of time in
haven,
Steve's room.
that was the safe haven.
Tommy's house. I mean, sometimes, most of the time you'd be there, but you didn't have to be there, you know?
yeah.
It was very, very comfortable that way.
I'd come home, my mom was feeding somebody, you know.
You'd come home, there'd be 6 people up in your room.
And people would go in their refrigerators, you
The
know?
whole,
it was-
yeah, the whole neighborhood was an open door policy.
Right.
You could go to somebody's house, you didn't have to,
Right, that was when you would go in the back door, you know?
and you didn't have to announce yourself, you didn't have to schedule anything.
And
you
you
just
know how
walked in.
you know how your parents felt, I know how your mom felt.
Mhm.
You know, better that she knew where everybody was, and
And then there would be the
the
restaurants.
alternatives
we
were
would
not
hang
good.
Right.
out too, you know? Before we were driving, the restaurants we would, gambling.
Bruder Boy Mainliner.
Bruder Boy Mainliner.
Amels?
Amels, when we were driving.
Yeah.
Grill and Skillet. you
I
know,
drove by there yesterday. You know how small it is? You know, it just looms so large in my
It's
mind.
not as good as it used to be. Or maybe it's the same as it used to be, but it doesn't taste good anymore.
Yeah, I think it's the same as it always was.
And I'll tell you something else about the center being a hub. I remember something that was so seminal, that we were really a part of something here, that we felt like we were part of the community, that you'd see the posters for the other things going on. And I remember in our AZA heydays, that's when the movement to free Soviet Jewry was on.
Yeah.
And I remember a huge rally in
Right.
front of our Jewish center, with hundreds of people and the news media there.
Yeah,
And
that's
I was
right.
like,
Remember.
wow.
That's a big deal. And
Yeah.
Israel Independence Day was a big deal with marches, you know, that started at
Yeah.
one of the synagogues and came here. And I don't know if that, did you guys, were your kids as involved at the JCCs wherever you lived as you were?
No.
No.
Mine were not at all. Mine
Even the
were,
identity is.
But it wasn't a
there
hangout,
either.
it was different now, it's different now, it wasn't a hangout. It
Yeah, I
wasn't-
think the Jewish identity thing is a little
Well,
bit
I'll
different.
put-
It's now, it's a little different now. It
I'll
is-
put a plug for Jewish day schools, you know,
It's mixed.
my kids all went to Solomon Schechter School. And they kind of had that experience, but it was with the kids at that school.
Right.
It wasn't like, we came from different parts of town, different communities, it was kind of a melting pot. But,
But the day school kids are there.
yeah, but my son at 29 is, just bought a house and is getting married next year, but until a few months ago, 2 of his roommates went to Solomon Schechter School with him.
really.
You know, years
So,
ago.
yeah, same kind of thing.
Again, the center, I've been thinking about just as a health club and their parents hanging out there.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think I see that today.
No.
Not many places where you have that. I mean, they would be at the health club, and even if they weren't seeing each other afterwards, that was like the center of
Yeah.
their afternoon.
And
I mean,
then
every
it's-
day.
And I think it still is that way here a little bit, right? I mean, my dad went to the health club here, well into
Not
his-
quite like it was.
well into his 70s.
Well, a lot of people aren't around.
Yeah.
But
You know,
It's
I,
different?
yeah, I
Oh,
don't,
okay.
I don't really, you know who I heard talking about it is,
Abe Weinrib still,
is he 100 years old? Abe?
101, I think.
Wow.
He's definitely over 100.
He's still hanging out there?
I don't know if he is, but I mean, he may be, but he was, I think he was still lifting weights when he was 100.
Wow.
He-
Hmm.
Which is,
That is amazing.
that
Now-
probably speaks to his longevity.
Doran, you probably didn't, but did the rest of you guys go to Hebrew school?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Didn't go to Hebrew school?
a couple of them.
You went to Sunday school.
Sunday school.
Did you take the bus?
Oh, that's a good story.
Oh, yeah.
The Tifereth Israel days.
Yeah.
We, our parents had an incredible faith in us, which was really undeserved,
Yeah, definitely.
Misplaced.
misplaced. And we had Hebrew school at Tifereth either Monday and Wednesday or Tuesday and Thursday, of course, plus Sunday school. And it seems to me there was a couple years, maybe between 5th and 7th grade, where at least one day a week, we missed the Hebrew bus. Don't know how it happened, but we missed the Hebrew bus. And our parents would give us permission to walk down to Livingston Avenue and take the Coda bus downtown, and then transfer to the Broad Street bus and go to Tiferet Israel. So we'd go downtown, we'd stop at Mr. Peanut,
Peanut,
Right.
right. Want some more peanuts?
we'd stop at Lazarus' sixth floor record department, and then we'd get to Tiferet about what time?
In time to be picked up.
5:30-ish
Yeah.
maybe, and 6 o'clock
Yeah,
rides came. I don't even know if they even asked us when they picked us up at 6 o'clock,
no.
you know.
They were busy.
They might have said, how was school today?
Right.
Was that accurate though? Would you
Yeah,
say?
that was accurate. It was a lot of fun. And then after bar mitzvah years, people used to give a lot of Lazarus gift certificates. So suddenly we had money. So we were able to take the bus and go to Lazarus, 5th floor, whatever, cash your gift certificates.
Right.
And then putt around and then go to Hebrew
Yeah.
school.
Gary and I used to like one maybe went LaSalle store. Remember
Yeah.
that downtown?
Two
Speaking-
Jewish brothers liquor store on High Street.
Right.
Speaking of gift certificates and bar mitzvahs, we have a late friend who you guys will be able to identify pretty quickly. Well, I said late friend, but he could have told you at age 55 what every one of us gave him for his bar
Or
mitzvah,
what you didn't give him.
or what you didn't give him.
Yes.
If he didn't consider it an adequate gift.
Harley?
No.
I always said that Harley and Rob Mendel were
Oh.
exact opposites. Harley remembered everything wonderful and perfect about childhood,
I didn't
and
know that
nothing
about-
bad.
I didn't know that. about
Nothing bad. And Rob could remember anybody that looked
Any
at him the wrong
slight.
way.
it. No kidding.
Yeah.
No, I'll tell you another part of
No
our
kidding.
experience at the center. It wasn't just coming here, doing activities, hanging out, but eventually we became part of the fabric that a lot of us worked here. That I worked front desk on the weekends. Did you
Well,
work?
No, I worked here in high school.
Is that what you did?
Yeah.
I worked here in high school, and then in college I was a camp counselor, but after college I came back here and I was the youth director and the camp director for 2 years.
Cool.
So I definitely was back here. I don't know if you,
I never worked here.
And so you were part of the snack bar crew?
Yeah, the pool.
I mean, that was
I remember
that was a
that
good
kid.
job.
Yeah.
yeah.
Best friends.
Did you gain a few pounds that summer?
Ice cream
Made
sandwiches.
some mean fries. Absolutely.
I
And the
think
pool-
me, Harley, and Tommy had our bar mitzvahs on the same day.
I was gonna ask you about that. What do you remember
Boy.
about your bar mitzvahs? Did you have bar mitzvah parties?
It was
I was
like,
number one. I was the first of the group.
right.
So are you,
Gary's
I'll
brother
be
went
60. I'll be 60 this October.
Right. And his brother had a band,
The Renegades.
the Renegade, that I think many of us used. I know I used them. I don't know if you had the Renegade.
Slave
And then,
band.
and
It
then
was the
mine
same band?
was, I think, like for the next after Gary's, and people gave, gifts like,
Thesaurus.
well, and photo albums. And, of course, the pens, but, like they gave photo albums.
High
So
class.
I didn't have photos, so I actually have a photo album at my mom's somewhere with everybody's bar mitzvah invitation.
Really?
No kidding.
Yeah.
Actually, Lynn Mayo sent me
In
one.
fact, my party was here
Lynn
at the center. A lot of parties were here at the center during the week. Hot dogs. We had the Renegades. hot dogs.
I had Rubina's at mine.
You had Rabina.
Yeah.
And,
I did.
made
we'd
a
always
good
have the
party.
multiplication dance. That was always a big thing. That, for sure, you wouldn't be
I did some
rejected.
pictures I
Right.
should probably forward to you
that would be wonderful.
of my bar mitzvah.
I would love that.
Even
What's the
the,
multiplication dance?
It would start with one couple, then they had to go and
Pick
ask someone
somebody
else, and then they had.
The band leader would say, multiply,
Right,
and everybody would go pick a new
new partner.
That was called.
Right, it took the edge off of asking someone to dance.
Right.
Right.
What other bands were there around at the time?
Contemporaries.
Was that the Claymans, the Contemporaries?
No, Renegades was Clayman.
David and Wayne, right?
Wayne
Not Wayne.
was the lead singer, Wayne Clayman. Bobby Schottenstein was rhythm guitar. Rich Cohen, or Dick Cohen, was
And Joe Slavin on
bass,
drums.
and Slavin on drums.
I thought Dave Clayman played some bass guitar
Not
or
in that
something.
band.
Not
Is
that?
that Brad's band, the Steel Tangerine?
Tangerine, right. But I think he was playing, no.
Okay.
he wasn't.
And the Contemporaries were big. They
Yeah.
were
Yeah,
kind
they
of
were-
full ensemble. That was
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, they had like 12 people in the band.
Yeah.
Is your brother still playing
I think
a little bit?
yeah, he does. He does.
But the bar mitzvah was, that was a
Two
good,
a-
that
two a
was also a
weekend for a
very good
while.
time, right, it was a very good time, but. it
That was probably the first time when we started to really mix more with
The women.
Eastmore, well, with the women, yes, but with a little bit with Bexley kids from Temple. Because there was kind of a divide between the Berwick
Right,
and the Bexley.
and I definitely liked the Bexley girls.
Yeah. I'll tell you another thing we did in Heart of Ohio was we published a newspaper. I don't know how many times a year,
I think 4 times a year.
but it was like the event when it came out. It was hilarious and everybody contributed in their own way.
The Heartbeat.
Oh, and
So,
it was prestigious.
Jake was at Harley, my son did an internship in Cleveland this summer, and he stayed at a friend of mine's house, Harley Combs. And Harley was showing him just the other day some Heart of Ohio. It's
Heartbeats.
Heartbeats. And he goes, Dad, I was reading one of those, and you guys were going on a camping trip, and there was an article about what each person should bring, okay? And when it came to you, they said, Blanche. That's all it said. What does that mean?
They need some
Why would you
truck.
bring Grandma? Yeah, so.
But it was.
I couldn't really explain it to him.
I don't want to know. I don't think I understand, but
But each issue actually had a real
a theme,
topic to it.
Yeah.
And we'd get like pro and con articles
Right.
or
or it might be a Soviet Jewry issue or an Israel issue.
or anti-Semitism
Yeah.
or something on
Yeah, there
Israel.
were a few good writers.
And we had an artist,
Sandy
yeah.
Miles was a good writer.
And we had an artist every issue, Michael Rosen, who's now a famous kids, writer, used to draw those little dot pictures that he used to do.
Right.
But it was prestigious within Heart of Ohio to be. Do you remember what it was called? The newspaper editor. Sofer, right?
Sure.
But that was like a big deal because you had some power if you were editor of the
Could
paper.
ask anybody for anything.
And we also were not always. It was funny, not always particularly kind. Pages that were the the Hitline survey or whatever that would always be some kind of nasty stuff about.
There he is.
There he
Is
is.
Harley coming in?
Hey!
Right.
Hi, Gail.
Hi, Gail. Do we need to get Harley to sign off so he
Yeah,
can jump right in?
does he got his?
We'll do it after. You can
Okay.
sign off after.
Hey,
How
buddy.
you doing, man?
Harley, you want to hit makeup before you sit down for this? or
Get
you okay?
shine off.
I have a question.
How's
it going?
It's
It's been a little rough, Harley.
I don't know if
Um,
you're
stand
gonna
right
be
by
able
the
to
door.
recover.
so I
You didn't
don't
mention
have-
any names.
Okay.
Do
you want to where's your seat up? Yeah.
You know,
I'll just push a chair
didn't
over.
want to say it, but, we could blame Tommy or whatever.
Well, that's a new low. We haven't gone that low, Harley. And it didn't.
I couldn't help it.
And you barely said that.
Are we still running here?
You're still running.
Hey, Harley. Harley, we've talked a lot, but I want to see if you come up with the same description. I remember you once describing Berwick from, say, 65 or 60 to
We'll
73.
have Harley introduce himself
Right,
first.
introduce yourself, give us your
A
address.
little
and
bit
your
about
telephone
Berwick.
number. 7366.
Stephen Oppenheimer.
Bruce Berg.
No,
And your
Harley
Gmail
Cohen.
password.
Harley Cohen, Garcia. No. What else?
Your address.
Address?
In Berwick.
In Berwick, 2603 Burnaby Drive,
Phone number?
What's your phone number?
235-7366.
I remember that.
Okay.
I remember, and I know everybody, all right, I know everybody's middle name, okay? Stephen Ira Oppenheimer, Doran Michael Young, Brad Lynn Schwartz,
Bet you don't know mine.
Ted, oh boy, you got me
I
on
never
that.
used it.
You never used it.
Manfred.
Don't think I'm
Manfred.
not going to start now. either.
Wow.
But talk about Berwick a
It's
little
hard,
bit.
isn't it?
Oh,
Describe
so
Berwick.
describe Berwick. It was a freak accident that happened over time and space where it was a perfect place to be. It was perfect. It couldn't be better. It was the ultimate of freedom, and I can't imagine a
Friendships.
better place to
Yeah.
grow up. If you took a thumbtack and put it on Berwick School and drew a half-mile radius, there were 100 people that we all knew and loved and had fun with. I mean, it was just remarkable. The amount of things we did were amazing, and I actually think the quality of life was as good as it could possibly be for anybody. I mean, when you take in the amount of freedom that we had, and we had a lot of freedom. I would have to say,
Would you say we had
Yeah.
too much freedom, Harlan?
I would
or
say it was,
just the right amount.
I would say that we were on the very edge of abusing it.
Well, it's a good thing there weren't surveillance cameras back then.
I mean, we walked and ran. I mean, we walked everywhere. We rode our bikes everywhere. You know, I mean, it was nothing to walk to the Jewish Center. I did it every day, and it was, I don't know, that's far. Yeah, I did it every day. And,
Do it at night.
At
Yeah.
night, yeah. And we were constantly moving. We were always at each other's houses, and every day was a true adventure. I mean, you can't remember every day. You can remember a lot of the highlights, but all those times in between, you just know that it was so good. We laughed a lot. Sometimes we binge laugh for days.
Yeah.
I fainted from laughing.
Fainted. Doran actually fainted, and that was a scary moment.
Right,
You
right,
know.
right.
And that was one of the hardest times I've ever laughed. I know that.
Was that before or after he fainted when you laughed?
Well, we were laughing when he fainted because we
Yeah.
thought it was on purpose.
Which
So,
wouldn't have been beyond you.
Well, you
They
just
weren't
fell over
laughing
laughing
when the
like
emergency
these
squad
fell
questions.
over laughing, yeah.
Really?
I know I fainted.
Yeah.
It was, but it was
Wait.
the aftermath of just one of the funniest things that ever
Yeah.
happened. But
It
it didn't
was-
happen in Berwick, so we're not going to repeat
Right,
it.
exactly. But it was all Berwick, it was all Berwick people.
And it was world class. This was a world class incident, believe me, event. It was up there
Right.
in
But
the
probably.
greatest stories ever
Probably
told.
recorded in the High Old Jewish Chronicle.
Right. You won't find it in that.
I would just say on this trip, this same trip, I rented a van. You know, we'd go on. You heard like on the camping trips, people wore sign certain things. So later on, we'd go on trips and people were sign certain
It's only
things.
5 years ago.
Yeah, right.
So I'm assigned. I rent the van, and these guys are going to go out and get, you know, pick up some groceries and some booze. And I'm sitting out there on the porch, and the next thing I see is all the guys in the van walking back without the van. And I'm going, what the heck happened? There's a little incident.
So, yeah, I mean, it seems, I always said, I know what I told Ted. I said, if you could somehow measure quality of life spatially in 3 dimensions
He's an engineer.
from the beginning of time, I can't imagine that you could get any better than this location in that space. It was just perfect. You know, we were so lucky and blessed to have the life we had, and you know, we didn't. I mean, we came close to abusing the fortune that we had, but we didn't step over the line. Not really.
Harley, this is why I told them Harley has to be here for this.
Well,
Because you
I
have a
know.
description of Berwick
Really,
that is
yeah.
so perfect.
It's just we all came into each other's lives, and it's really special. I would describe it as by saying that, you know, everybody has personality flaws. We all have them. But with us, there was never any complaining about our flaws. We just made fun of them.
They were pointed out very early.
They were pointed out very early in our lives.
Early and often.
Early and often, and we celebrated that.
We didn't know what you were talking about.
Instead of like not hanging out with each other, we just hung out with our flaws.
Right.
And that was fun,
We
you
were
know?
talking about bar mitzvahs a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
Tell us about yours.
Mine, well, Ted, me,
I thought it was me, you, and Tommy were on the same.
all four
I was
of us.
May-
Four of us?
May
All
18th.
all
Well, that was
four
fine.
bar mitzvahs were scheduled to be on the same day.
Oh,
And so the mothers got together and they said, well, we better split up. So we set it so that it was 2 and 2. Dorn's and Tommy's were on the same day, and mine and Ted's. But we had our parties on Saturday, Sunday, Saturday,
Right.
Sunday.
And mine, I think, was on even during the week at the center.
Yeah,
That was a good 8-day period, or whatever.
yeah, and
I'm
you
still
know,
recovering.
we were shy actually. We were. What's weird about us is we were shy when it came to, you know, the opposite sex, and we were
Late bloomers.
We were late bloomers, and you know, so
I was a little more progressive.
Yeah,
but
Dorn
not
was
quite
ahead of his
shy.
time.
A little, I was ahead of my time.
You want to talk about that a
I
little?
think you had a beard at 6.
Thank God. No, I totally agree. I'm just saying, you know.
Well, that
they
was-
would sit on their.
I peaked early.
The girls would sit on their side of the room and we'd sit on ours, and then who was gonna cross and ask somebody to dance?
Right.
And
Was
they
a
talked
big-
about the multiplication dance was the icebreaker.
That's right. So it wouldn't happen. The party would be a dud. The party was a dud unless somebody said, okay, multiplication dance, and somebody had to get up, and then all of a sudden everybody was having
Well, the bar
fun.
mitzvah boy or girl had to start, I think.
Right. And
But think about that, when we're 12 and 13 years old, we're little
Right.
kids.
And the girls are more mature and
Yeah.
taller.
Right. And by the way, Toby, I know you're talking about bar mitzvahs, but we also did, I think many of us took dancing lessons here at the center.
Oh, yeah.
And that was
Tell
a
us about that.
social icebreaker too.
right, that was for I don't know, like a couple months.
Is that
Right.
before or after the sex education we took here?
Sunday afternoons.
I don't
Who
remember
taught
that.
that class? Was that Dr. Robbins or was that Dr. Kaplan?
Yes, we had sex education here at the center.
Was that
I
for
begged
boys?
my mother to take me. I'm still trying to learn.
And that was a boys-only class?
No,
No.
No.
but we were
All the
separated.
girls. No,
Those are
not
the
true.
pizza.
All the girls that we
That's true,
knew,
that's true.
Julie and Elaine and
Right.
Jody Meisler, Jody Stan, and all these
Susie.
other girls, Susie Jacobs, were all there, and we were there. We took dancing lessons. We'd learn the box
Stock
step,
step, cha-cha-cha.
cha-cha-cha.
I didn't do that.
Are you not
No.
talking about the sex
No,
class?
we're talking about
Oh, yeah,
dance
that's
lessons.
right.
I thought maybe you were going to say we should have combined those classes.
And Sunday afternoon, and at the time, I think Dorn was going out with Elaine, or Jody
Stan.
Jody
Stan, and I was kind of Jody Meislish thing, and so I remember Dorn going outside,
I brought that up when my
It was
first
his first kiss.
I can't believe you remember that.
and Jody Meislish was mine, and at a bar mitzvah.
Right, it was a big deal at the time.
It was a big, of course, a kiss. That was huge.
And I'm still waiting for mine.
Gail, did you know this about him?
So, our bar mitzvah days were a blast. You know, that's when, by that time, our group had really gelled. I mean, you know, we had really found our voice.
But in addition to being shy with the girls, generally speaking, we were also afraid of guys that would beat us up too from other schools and certain schools and all
Berwick.
too.
In
So,
Berwick was
yeah.
a
We
there
had
was a undercurrent of like hoodlums,
Right.
hoods, you know, and for some reason they were always after us. I don't know why,
Right.
but we felt that. In some cases, it was true.
Right.
I
Most of the
know
time it
for
was
a
ima-
fact.
For me, it was mostly imagined.
Imagine that they were going to kill us, you know.
When they
partly
had
guys.
young Hitler party or what?
There were some nasty guys. There were
Right.
some tough
Right,
guys.
fighting was like happening.
Initials
Remember
are,
that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there were a lot. There were all, you know. So Berwick, we'd walk, right? I mean, that was our adventure every day. Was in a
Walking
group.
around, just
We'd
walking
walk.
around.
We'd walk to Tommy's. We'd walk to the Mr. Chicken. We'd go to Cochran's.
Right.
And we know. And then if we were going to Dorn, we'd walk to Dorn's. And then Gary, the stuff was going on in Gary. We were just walking. Just constantly walking around in a group.
Do you guys remember going out at Halloween in Berwick?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I remember going with Gary, we would take, each a pillowcase, bring it back filled,
The neighborhood
Walk all
was full
over.
of kids, so.
All over,
Yeah.
all
You could do
over.
very well in
everywhere.
Halloween.
Yeah.
Harley, we talked before about, quite a bit about Heart of Ohio, but you gotta be able to jump in on that one. But you know what I wanted to, we talked about us being kind of shy. I remember, as social as AZA was, Heart of Ohio, it was like we took pride in constantly turning down invitations from other groups to do stuff with them.
Well, I mean, that also goes to the fact that we were a very tight,
Right.
you know.
We could have been a little bit more social.
Right.
We could have been, I think the
There was
problem was,
resentment built up over the years.
there was resentment in not just the Jewish community, but as we know, outside the Jewish community. But what made us unique was we were so fully entertained by ourselves. It was like an addiction. Like the next day, you would just wonder what the heck was going to go on.
Our own little
It
Avalon.
was our own perfect world, and we created it, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful, and it was fun. It was remarkable, and every day was just an adventure. Like it just didn't. Every day was different. And whether we were in Hebrew school or Sundays, still one of my favorite stories. I'm sorry, this is one of my favorites.
Sorry,
This is
I'm
great,
sorry
Harley.
you're gonna tell this.
And
Harley, you actually brought a lot of energy into the
so
This must have been building up on this drive.
Sunday school, no, it wasn't, but the Sunday school, Robert Mendel, may he rest Avashalom, was in my Sunday school class at Good Asachim, and we'd sleep over each other's houses. So Oppie slept at my house one Saturday night, and but I had to go to Sunday school the next day. So Oppie said, "Well, I'll just go with you." So we go to Sunday school, and two things happened. The first thing was we had a substitute teacher. The second thing that happened was Robert Mendel didn't show up. So the substitute teacher had to learn everybody's names, so when she came to Oppie, he said, Robert Mendel.
We both kind of had curly hair.
Right, so she thinks this is Robert Mendel for about the next hour. And then by the time he was done, he was kicked out of the class, kicked out of Sunday school forever. Okay? And his father was the president of the temple.
Mo Mendel was.
Mo Mendel was president. They kicked him out. They called his father and everything. And Robert was homesick. It was
Entertainment
really,
was cheap.
it was cheap, and it was constant. And my friends are so funny and creative. They are just amazing, and every day was.
It was like a new season of a sitcom. Get a theme, run with it for a
Theme
while.
would run,
Yeah.
run. So
Kind
we
of like Seinfeld, a show about nothing. Right? We didn't have to do anything. We just walked around.
Yeah. it
So
was
some
pretty-
people did take offense to that we were, just such a tight knit
Yeah, I
group.
mean, it's interesting, the last few years, we've heard the undercurrents of that from the girls.
We never knew.
Which 40
We
never
years
knew
later.
that they looked at us and they said, there's no way we can break into this group, so we're not gonna try. So that was the dynamic.
The
So
interesting
we didn't
thing
try
is-
because we were so
We
tight.
lost out.
The interesting
We
thing
lost
is,
it.
right, they could have, very easily.
Yeah.
Broken in, you mean?
So you guys were very tight as kids. What happened when you got to high school?
Got tighter.
Tighter and looser at the same time.
Well, the time that we were in high school was a time of a lot of
Experimentation.
racial tension in the community. A lot of extracurricular activities were cut out. They just wanted us in school, in class, and out of there. So, Gary was wrestling, so he was an athlete. We played football for a little bit. But then after that, it was just then back to our show after
Yeah.
school.
We had so much time.
We
didn't
had-
have
there's so much
yeah.
time.
And then we figured out you really didn't have to go to school all the time.
And we were driving, and it was,
They did not really care, it seems like. You could kind of come and go at Eastmore during that era. You know what I mean? You could leave during the day and
we were experimenting, and it was just it was a fun time. little dangerous time in retrospect, looking back, but we made it through.
Aren't you
It could have
thank-
been, it could have had some negative consequences.
Right, but, right.
Aren't you
But-
thankful
but
that your
then
own
he-
kids are a whole lot more, I guess, conservative, I would say?
Well, we're
than
hoping
they
that's
were?
the case, you know.
Well, so far, so far.
That's the times, but I'll tell
That
you,
was- that was the
even
time.
while
There was
all that
never
was
that.
going on in high school, Sandy edited the newspaper, Randy Baum edited the
You
newspaper, I
edited.
edited the yearbook. People were still
Harley was a
involved.
good student, Brad Schwartz was a good,
Yeah,
there were a few
I
guys that
mean-
were good
We
students.
still showed up and contributed.
Somehow, and we did things like, and then of course,
Control
we
politics.
were doing
Oh,
some
yeah.
community service things, you know. I mean, there were the,
What were those, Harley?
oh, we took, like, for example, we took the,
Jog my memory.
the boys, the orphans from,
I don't remember the name of it.
we take them to a baseball game.
Clipper game, yeah.
Clipper game, you know, of course, we were, you know, giving them cigarettes and stuff, but, you know, that was one thing, you know.
Did we
We
take
took
them
them
to
to
the
the, we
zoo?
took them to the pool,
Ohio State Fair.
Ohio State Fair,
Yeah.
Was this a Jewish group?
oh, Heart of Ohio.
Yeah, Heart of
You
Ohio.
know, we did community
Buzzy,
service.
Buzzy pushed us to do good stuff.
Yeah, we did some, I mean, you
Yeah.
know.
So we got exposed.
Ted was the conscience of our group.
Right,
He was
right, 'cause
always-
They had to explain to us why we would want to do things.
You know, we had exposure that not everybody lived in our little Avalon
Right.
or Berwick, and, you know, people had
Did you ever
exposure.
feel anti-Semitism at any point as a little kid, going all the way up into high school?
Yes.
You did?
There were some individual people or families, I think it really wasn't discussed, you just kind of felt the undercurrent a little bit, at least we did.
Absolutely, there were some individuals.
In Berwick,
But it
where
wasn't-
it was,
When we had friends, for instance, I remember having friends that were members at country clubs that Jews didn't go to. So we wouldn't maybe discuss it, but back in that era, you know, if your family went to Columbus Country Club, that basically meant you were going to a
I
club
don't
that didn't
remember
want you.
anybody acting on it.
I
No.
don't think
I
do.
know.
Yeah, I didn't, it
There
was
was
more
some
a
families.
racial tension back then.
Yeah, well, in our 10th grade, there was severe racial tension. Matter of fact, there was, they blew up a classroom with a Molotov cocktail. And we had riots at the end of the day by the bus,
Fires in the bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
fires in the bathroom. And then they came in and you had to have, like, they had marshals in the halls, and they tried to keep guys out of some strangers out
Remember
of
the first black guy that came to junior high?
I do, definitely.
Tony?
No.
Not Tony Hodge.
Hawkins.
Hawkins,
Yeah, Dave
Dave
Hawkins.
Hawkins.
But imagine that in this day and
One.
age. One.
Do you remember that at Berwick?
No,
The
Yes,
Phillips family.
Phillips.
Kim Phillips.
Kim Phillips, right.
We
She
went
was
through
really
high
light,
school
though.
with Kim.
She was very light.
She went all the way through high school with us.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
She might still be around.
She's a doll.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, you know who else? State Senator Taveras. What was her name?
Charlita Bell.
Charlita.
Charlita is what?
She's been a state senator and a state representative for many years.
Oh, yeah,
Of Ohio?
Charlita.
Not U.S. Senate, but at the State House. Yeah.
No, that was,
Charlita. Maddie did a internship with her in college.
Oh, is that right?
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
What positions did you hold in Hart?
All of us were presidents at one
Presidents.
time.
or vice presidents.
And these guys were regional.
I think
Oh,
the-
guess
the
what?
Three of us edited.
Guess what I have with me?
Oh, no.
Heartbeats.
Of all the heartbeats
Oh, my God.
in the car.
Oh,
All right.
Good, well,
Tonight.
we've
Yeah.
been
We talked about
speaking
it.
it
Jake
up.
told us you showed him one.
Yeah, I showed them the heartbeats.
So we all three edited the paper
Yeah.
at different times.
We probably
were
all
were president.
I think I was Mongo. Was there such a position?
Yeah,
You
that
were
was a
Mongo.
very important
I
position.
don't know what I did.
It was
There was
the Mongo.
stiff
There was
I
the-
think there was stiff competition between you and Randy Baum for that.
I wasn't.
No.
No, I wasn't
Nobody
involved.
could
in-
compete with Randy.
You weren't a politician.
I was more in the crowd, you know. I had a thing going with Randy Brown. You know, we were just trying to
With
mind
a
our
lot
own
of
business.
edge.
We were just trying to mind our own business and get
Oh,
through
yeah.
that.
With
With
You
a
guys-
strong edge.
Very quiet, you guys. But you guys, I know, were both on the regional level, were officers.
Yes.
And back then, I think I think in our prime, there were 8 chapters, and like on a Tuesday night, there'd be 300 kids here.
Oh, yeah.
We had a city council that was made up of all the chapters, and that's where I wasn't a regional guy, but I remember doing that
Didn't you
city.
go up pretty high in the organization?
Yeah, I was regional vice president.
Oppie ran, should have won.
Yeah.
It was a seriously.
That was his first
It
foray.
was our first, I mean, we were political in heart, but the region was political.
You got
There was,
outmaneuvered, huh?
The Jeff Adler, Oppie, Meisler, Barkin
Hammeroff.
versus the
Weingarten.
the Weingarten, Indiana, Northern Indiana group, and there was politics, man.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it was a lot of politics.
And they had the Chicago politic influence.
They really did.
Were they going to run with
Boris.
Obama?
And Boris, I mean, come
Oh,
on, it can't be
yeah.
more political.
You had the
than that.
Feldman guys from that same era.
Yeah.
Remember
Perry.
Ted Feldman? Perry
It
from
was
Louisville.
very political.
Yeah.
So
That was our introduction to Southern women, was when we met the girls from Kentucky.
thank God for Louisville, Kentucky. It was the only thing that, was our saving grace from.
What about clubs and things like Excelsior Club when you were really little, Winding
Yeah.
Hollow?
Aquamarine Club.
Aquamarine.
Oh, Aquamarine.
We were Excelsior Club. I remember that.
Tommy was Excelsior Club.
Yeah.
What do you remember about it?
Just remember going there to swim and I think there was probably having dinner there. I don't remember too much about it. I do remember that when I was 8 years old, I fell off a giant sliding board and broke my arm. Couldn't go away to camp that summer. I was supposed to go away to camp. So, not really too much else about it. I'm
Did you
thinking
go
by
center?
We went to the center to swim on
The
that.
center was the center, really. Even though you guys belonged to the Excelsior Club, you guys came here.
Yeah, I think we were there until I was 7 or 8 years old or something. It's been closed, I think it closed when we were still kids.
I mean, the center was really.
I mean, if there was nothing going on, you could bowl.
Right.
You could always do something.
And none of us really were country club
Teen room.
families at all,
Yeah.
right?
Right there.
Any of you guys?
I don't think so.
No country clubbers.
I mean, I'm trying to think of who was
Very
there.
late.
Who was the country
Maybe
guy?
Burke? Maybe
Burke.
We joined very late.
You guys joined the country club?
Whiting Hollow, very
Oh, you
late.
did?
Yeah. Late.
Is that after Mitzi Court was built?
Mitzi Drive.
Mitzi.
Harley, did you work at the center?
I did. I worked starting when I was 12 as a manager of the snack bar. And I guess we can talk about some of that.
I think actually Harley hired me.
Gave him his first job.
A lot of things went down at the
How'd the
snack
interview
bar.
go?
It was a great place because everybody always knew they could come there any time of day or night, and we could cook,
Even
make burgers.
Harley, I remember us being there cooking and eating on a rainy day.
Oh,
It was
gosh,
closed.
yeah. It was a great place.
That was an
And
unprofitable year for the snack bar.
Very
We
unprofitable.
could use the JCC 24/7.
24/7, literally.
Right.
Oh, we didn't talk about the keys yet.
So, I was 12 years old, I had the keys to the whole Jewish Center. I don't know, it was a big ring of keys, and we'd sneak in and play basketball. That was our big thing.
It took a long time for the lights to come on. Wasn't
Yeah.
that here?
Yeah,
Those
so,
mercury vapor lights or
so
what?
here's this group of kids, you remember, you're running around looking to do things. We were so busy doing things, but we always wanted to play basketball. So we'd come here on Saturday night, and I'd have the keys, and we'd get in and flip on the lights and play basketball until Jack would kick us out.
Night maintenance guy. But the health club, that was even later. We'd come in.
Yeah,
like
we'd sneak in the
midnight.
health club, that was the top. And my favorite was they had those things that rolled.
Yeah.
That
And
you
you'd
sat on.
sit on them, and they had like wood.
Yeah.
Remember the
Yeah,
wood?
yeah.
And then your butt would itch. I don't know what it did.
Right.
What was the purpose of that?
I don't know.
No.
It's supposed to probably firm you up or something.
I don't think that's come back. That's
I remember
You know,
that.
there's an opportunity for an infomercial.
Right.
Oh, God.
That was.
Shakers, right? Remember?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, man.
But we really looked up to all the staff here, even though we were
Yeah.
pulling all the stuff here. I mean, we knew all the staff, and
even though we did things wrong, we were respectful to them. And Jack loved that guy. And one of my favorite things that I did was our AZA, we had or TAC, or one of them, we had a big turkey raffle where we gave away turkeys. And I remember I took Jack's ticket and palmed it in my hand, and he won. So I cheated, but it was great because he was so happy.
He likes us.
Oh, he was a great guy. And Jimmy too, I mean.
Jimmy was something else.
Gosh, I don't know what they thought of us, but I think they liked us,
And then, before it was gambling next door, it was the Berwick Party House. So when we would board the buses to go to Cubbage Corners, we'd go to the back of the restaurant. She was making deep dish Sicilian
Right.
pizza. And
That was Berwick Party House?
Berwick Party House.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
oh,
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, it was like this was just the golden land.
Right.
Oh, and there was a
Well,
donut
the donut
place.
place that we buy the day old
Yeah,
donuts
yeah.
for real cheap. You buy a quarter, and you get like 12 donuts that were a little hard.
What was that place? What was the donut? Was that a Russians, maybe?
No, it wasn't Russians.
We could go on. I'm going to tell you, Burger BBF or Burger Boy.
Mainliner.
Burger
Boy
Are
Mainliner,
you kidding?
yeah.
We spent. I don't know how much time we had, but it sure seemed like we had a lot.
And I talked too. I mean, we talked about cutting up and doing sports, and I mean, we did the sports and we won most of the sports.
Right.
But then we also had in our chapter people that were on the quiz bowl team for Columbus Academy, Eastmore, all the different schools, and
Yeah,
they'd come
dominated.
and they dominated. I mean, one week they shut another chapter out. I mean, it was terrible.
In the heartbeats,
No
they'll
wonder
bring them
people
in.
hated us.
In the heartbeats, it has like sports reports, and it talks about how we won basketball, we won baseball, we won this, we won that, and and Capital this, and I mean, it's pretty fun.
Well, we did have a little rivalry. Was it with Capital or?
Capital,
Minor. They weren't competitive.
they weren't competitive. And then Pops brought in football, they brought in those ringers, those big boys from backstate. But we still won.
Yeah.
Now,
Still win.
Oppie mentioned earlier, and I think it's interesting too, as much time as we spent doing who knows what, total control of politics at high school level too.
Oh, yeah.
The president of the student council was Jewish, editor of the newspaper was Jewish, editor of the yearbook was Jewish, so we still had a lot of those.
Right.
Alan Silverman was,
We also had an inside person in the office where we get tested.
Get the test. Right.
That
We were
when they
pretty
would-
much,
They had the carbons, and so we had somebody that would access those carbons out of the trash can. Lift them out of the
We
trash
had,
can.
we had a little help in the
A lot of the
attendance.
times,
help in the attendance.
Sometimes they weren't the right tests.
that became a business for one of our friends, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Very entrepreneurial.
oh man.
Who else do you remember? What other people, what other of the, either kids that were your age or of some of the older people do you remember? Like who would be a mentor aside from Buzzy or somebody like that?
Oh, older guys? Like older men? Well, we had,
I thought Joel Slavin was our
Joe-
mentor.
It was really just, within our chapter, when we came in, there, the oldest guys were 3 years older.
Bruce, what was his name? He ran, Bruce and his wife were big.
Oh, you're talking about another advisor,
Yeah.
Oh, I remember Saul.
Saul Kaufman.
Yeah, he was a sweet guy.
Yeah. And the staff here, remember Karen Palmer? That was
Karen
like
Palmer.
the youth director.
Yeah.
She's still around.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
And
Leon,
then-
but Leon was a true
But
role
we didn't
model.
have a mentor.
Yeah.
I don't think we had a mentor like
Person. No, not really.
that. Could have been part of the problem,
Yeah.
But we didn't
Very
have
little
some.
I
direction.
think it was Buzz.
The mentors would get us into trouble.
Yeah, our mentors we chose were worse than we.
They showed us the way.
They helped us
We thought
right
that
down
was the right way to go, right?
Yeah, we had, no, Buzzy, you know what? We love Buzzy. I mean, man, he was a beloved guy. He really
We may
was.
see him tomorrow night if he's feeling a little better.
And you know, I think we couldn't appreciate till later years how an older man could have been that gracious to us.
That giving.
That
Spend that much
giving,
time with us.
and join in, know when to join and when not to.
Yeah.
I mean, he just fit perfectly,
Yeah.
you know, and he was funny. He was
And
hilarious.
I think he did that for 15 or 20 years.
Oh, man. He
Why
was-
would he do that?
I think he really got us. You know, not a lot of people got us. I mean, you know, their sense of humor is a very, it's different. And it's, you know.
Acidic?
Yeah, I would say it's, you know, it's very inside. It really is. It's personal and inside a lot. And Buzzy, he could join right in.
You got it.
He got it.
He told me he stayed on as an advisor for, I'm thinking, maybe 5 years after we left. And he left for a while. And he told me he came back like 10 years later. He said, kids had changed. He says, I couldn't get them to do anything because you guys were crazy and wild and you did all the shit that you did. But I could get you to do something worthwhile, like we talked about. I could get you to do a community service project, go to Heritage House, do something. He says, I can't get these kids today to do anything. They come, you know, to the meetings Tuesday night, and they don't want to do any programs. They don't want to do any community service. He got out. He got out at that point.
Where did you guys Boy Scouts?
Cub Scout.
I was
For a couple
Wow.
months. Couple months I was a Boy Scout.
That was
All at the JCC?
Yeah.
Boyman's,
Yeah, that didn't last too long. Oh, no, that's where I experienced anti-Semitism, was in the Boy Scouts when I went to Boy Scout camp. That's the only place in a big way that I heard all about the you know, that we killed Christ, and, you know, they found out it was a Jewish chapter, and it was a really uncomfortable week.
Mm.
you went to, where was that camp?
You know, somewhere here in Ohio.
Wilson? Didn't we go to Camp Wilson?
Wilson was YMCA camp. I went a couple summers. Yeah. That
I
was,
went with you.
I think that was like
that
the
was a
first
bad-
summer
that was a
of
bad
my
week, too.
Boy Scouting and the last summer.
Right.
I said, I don't need
Boy
to.
Scouts-
I'll be Christ the King up on,
Harley, my memory of Camp Wilson is a cabin mate that we obviously didn't know until we got there, who decided to light his bed on fire during the night, and our cabin got cleared
I
out.
don't remember.
And like 2 days later, or maybe the next day, he was gone from camp, and I think that was a good thing.
I didn't really do camp. We did, I think we did,
Day camp.
day camp a couple of years maybe. We would go up to
Definitely.
Cubbage Corners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember who your counselors were?
Oh, I remember one. He lived right behind me. What was his name? We loved that guy. He was bigger. He was kind of a little heavy set. What was his name?
I can't remember those guys.
So my third grade camp counselor was Steve Payne, the dentist.
Oh.
And the families were friendly from the old neighborhood, and then I became interested in dentistry and would hang out in his office and observe, and ended up practicing with him for 2 years before I moved to
Did you go to dental school or just, no?
Yeah. So he was a great
Did you also
guy,
go to Blue Star?
and
Yeah.
and the way it was here, we'd get out of camp, I'd get on my bike and ride to his house.
Right.
You know, he's like into collecting coins, I think. So, you know, it was just that kind of community.
Wow. And you guys went to Blue Star?
yeah,
Both of you?
went for a few years.
Yeah, your brothers went too, didn't they? I know Todd went.
You can-
Todd and Bob didn't go, Todd, Jeff and I.
You guys were our higher class friends, I guess, going to Blue Star.
They lived on
You went
the
too?
College.
I went 1 year.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you and I.
You went to Blue Star, we went to Camp Wilson,
Wilson.
YMCA.
That was just 1 year we did.
We learned to shoot guns.
And in Georgia now, you have to carry them.
You got a gun?
No.
Well, I would like you to all sort of
Wrap it
give
up.
me a wrap-up of what it was like growing up in Berwick, Jewish kids in Berwick who've been friends I can't even count how many years.
50.
Well, it's 50. 50, some guys may could be longer.
Yeah.
Right.
I moved back there for a couple years as an adult into Berwick. It's still beautiful. It's different. The only
It seemed
Jews
like,
in
it
the
seemed
house.
like we owned the world. That's how it felt.
it really-
Gary and I, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
We'd go up here, we'd walk up here to, we were 10, 10 years old. Walk up here to the bus, get on the bus, go downtown, we'd have all these adventures downtown, right?
Battle of the Bands.
We'd go to, I remember we'd go, there was this guy Cohen, and he owned this little LaSalle, the little porn shop or whatever.
Well, it was a
Trick shop.
Trick shop or whatever.
Adult
We'd
magazines in the back.
sneak in, and
I
we'd
didn't know
buy,
about that.
Gary would buy a sneezing powder.
Right, right.
And then we'd go and we'd
Unleash it on the bus.
unleash it on, yeah, we'd go places and try to get people to sneeze. Or
Pepe Le Pew.
Pepe Le Pew to smell, we'd open it up, and Lazarus,
Right.
and people would, you'd watch them.
Yeah.
And then we'd go to Mills, and I remember,
Planters Peanuts.
we'd go to Planters Peanuts.
If it was an election year, do you remember when we were into collecting all the
Oh, yeah.
campaign buttons? If it was
10 years
68
old.
Yeah.
So, freedom, 10 years old, getting on a bus, your parents don't know where you are, what you're doing, and that's a fact.
So trying to sum it up, it was like a really safe environment with enough support from our parents, from the adults here at the center and the AZA, and enough diversity in our group to find somebody that was interested to go do whatever thing you wanted to do to build the kind of, friendship and through the experiences we had, that when we're together now, and we usually still travel a couple times a year for golfing or whatever, and it's like, in that moment you go, well, these are the good old days, from all of those good old days. So what we've created, it's like Harley said, it was a vortex in time.
It just all perfect storm that came together, and we were lucky.
The beauty of it now is when we come together, it's like we're children again. We can let down the day-to-day trials and tribulations. We can kind of let go and just be together and enjoy life again.
I mean, that's one of the great things is, we have fun reminiscing, but it can be about yesterday. It doesn't have to be about 50 years ago, and I think you're saying the same thing, we're still having fun.
Right.
I know Gary will appreciate this, but I told him once, I said, I think of us, the 8 of us or whatever, as, like a very fine wine that's aged over a long period of time, and it's just so good. It's got so much age to it. It's not just another bottle, it's got all those things.
Yeah,
I don't even
And it's the
remember.
earth that it came from, right here.
Yeah, it was very organic.
Yeah.
And we were lucky. We are still.
So we
Lucky to
got,
have each other.
I used to
so we
love
got
it.
Doran back here after being gone for like
30 years.
30 years, he's back. I never left. When are the 3 of you coming back?
Well, but wait a second, Randy Brown came back.
Randy Brown's back, yeah.
Did someone else come back?
Well, Joel sort of back.
Yeah.
2
I'll
months.
tell you, I used to love it when we'd come and we'd visit, we'd be with Harley's dad, and he'd sit there and he'd go, geez, you guys. Because I can't believe you guys. Irv was,
You got a kick out of it.
yeah.
Oh, man. We loved it. As, we were so.
Yeah, nothing better, really.
And,
Nothing better.
I think and this is unusual because it's kind of an unspoken thing with us. We just know it. I think, to be honest with you, since Tommy got sick, we started talking about our relationships a little more, and how lucky we are. I don't think before that we really said much about it.
No,
We
I
just
think
let
that's
it-
right.
Yeah.
It was definitely, we didn't focus on it.
Yeah, we just let it be, let it breathe, and then all of a sudden it was kind of like a punch in the face.
Right.
And I said,
No, Robbie too.
and I had to.
It was 2 friends in 5 years.
But I think when Rob passed away, it was like, it was like an unusual situation, right?
And unfortunately, it was so quick. I mean,
And then Tommy.
although we did make a group trip down there, and this,
Yes.
and that's what we do. But Tommy, we had 9 years where we knew it was gonna be, but didn't know when, and lived every moment together like it might be the last.
Yeah, I would say that that's true. We did do that. The last 9 years, we really did. That was just, we milked it good.
That's wonderful.
Well,
I appreciate it. Thank you for
Sure.
doing
Thank
this
you.
for us. You're now a part of the Columbus Jewish Historical Society archives.
Thank you.
So how do we get our heartbeat into the archives?
Well, we would love to have you